The relationship between Joe Freshgoods and New Balance has definitely aged well, because 5 years and 20 sneakers later, this partnership might be the most important one for New Balance. And in this video, I'll be reviewing the New Balance 992 age well, paying homage to that original Joe Freshgoods 992 they released 5 years ago. So let's get into it. These retail for $220 and they officially dropped via raffle through the Joe Freshgoods website on February 20th, 2025. That day was probably strategic as well, because the original 992s dropped on February 2020. Apparently there were a few pairs that were stolen, and then a local retailer sold these online, and some people were able to cop early pairs. I at least got mine through Joe Freshgoods, so I know for sure that mines are legit. Whether you like Joe Freshgoods releases or not, one thing that's undeniably true about him is that the storytelling that he delivers on all of his releases are definitely very important to, I guess, also creating some hype, but also understanding what his, artistic mindset is to add a story behind a release. Because in today's sneaker world, as we all know, sneakers are great pairs of shoes, get lost in the mix because sometimes they don't have a good story behind it. And on the flip side of that, a crappy release may have more hype because the storytelling is so good. But one thing about Joe is that whether you like his shoes or not, the storytelling is always spot on. So for this release in 2025, New Balance is going to be releasing a lot of 992. So it was only right that Joe Freshgoods decided to bring back or pay homage to that original 992, the No Emotions Are Emotions, Anatomy of the Heart, that released on February 14, 2020 in Chicago. And it definitely built a lot of hype for that sneaker. Of course, on All-Star Weekend, it's always tough to compete because typically Nike or Jordans, take over that weekend with all of their releases, especially Jordan releases. But to have a New Balance drop and build that much hype during that era of sneakers was amazing. And I think that that's why the partnership between Joe Freshgoods and New Balance is so important for the brand, because that also brought that street cred to a brand that's typically considered like a dad shoe brand. And with that release, it brought a lot of hype, and it definitely changed the game for New Balance ever since. All right, so here we have the custom box, age well here on the top. When you put the box vertically, you'll find a classic photo from that 2020 release. Folks waiting in line for those 992s. Cold Chicago day. I've been to Chicago before during the winter time, and boy, it's probably one of the coldest cities I've ever been to. So you had folks there waiting in line for this hype release. So that was a cool detail, so throw that on there. Throughout the box, you're gonna find Joe Freshgoods branding and of course New Balance branding as well. But one of the coolest details here is this made history, where I believe typically on a made in USA box, you'll find New Balance here, but I like how he switched things up and went with made history. So that's a cool little detail overall. When you open the box, on the inside part of the lid, you're gonna find these initials DBM, which stands for Don't Be Mad. That is, or was, Joe Freshgoods' first brand that he used and put on those original 992s on the front of the tongue to kind of, of course, show his brand, make it stand out a bit and obviously put his logo on it. So that's a cool little detail that he decided to do that here as well, to remind us of Joe Freshgoods' beginnings and where he's at now. The shoes come with 5 laces. Some of these colors may remind you of some other colorways that he's used on some of his releases, but it's also part of that whole age well theme, from the original laces, from the original 992 pair to these, as colors transition over time. And just a quick look of the laces that come stock with the shoes. But I think right now I'm digging this green color. Looks very nice, and it also makes the shoe pop a little bit more. All right, so getting into the color, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, when I first saw it, when I first saw images of this release, I was like, another pastel colorway. I was kind of tired of pastel colorways in general, but just seeing the shoe over time, seeing those images on social media, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it definitely grew on me, and it definitely helped that it's on a 992. It's one of my favorite New Balance silhouettes. I just love the 992. It's just so cool. And it definitely helped make my decision to say, you know what, let me grab these. And I'm glad I did. Having these shoes in hand, I definitely appreciate it a lot more. Knowing the history, knowing the story behind the release, it definitely helps. The colorway is basically a mostly pink shoe. You have different shades of pink from darker to light pink colors on these. Even the mesh, even though from afar it looks gray, but up close, it kind of has like a rose gold color as well. You obviously have some leather hits here across the toe box area. On the tongue, you do have Joe Freshgoods there. You have some leather materials here on the back of the shoe as well. Obviously, the end logos are reflective. You have this beautiful premium suede throughout the upper of the shoe as expected on a made in USA New Balance sneaker. On the back of both shoes, you have a cutout with the Joe Freshgoods initials. On the lateral side, you have USA, where typically you'll find a 992 there. And the insoles, you have this beautiful mixture of all these colors that look very similar to the color palette of the first 992s, and then there you have New Balance Joe Freshgoods branding. The midsole has a two-tone color, a very light pink here around the forefoot part, and then as you go to the back of the shoe, it transitions to a darker pink. The midsole features Absorb. You also have these Absorb SBS inserts here in the forefoot area, and then all the way to the back of the shoe. One major thing that I love about the construction of these 992s is that on this part of the midsole and upper part of the shoe, it looks like New Balance did a really good job, you know, gluing this part together, because on other 992s, like on my gray OG pairs, you can see here, like, it kind of looks like it's almost like falling apart a little bit. So that definitely looks sloppy. And that's how I got this pair. You know, New Balance has found a way to address that issue where you see a nice seamless construction of the upper part of the shoe and the midsole. Flipping the shoe over to the outsole, classic 992 outsole. A nice little detail here that this strip here is in that olive or green color, where typically a regular 992 would have that in a gray color. And also the New Balance branding here is also in a pink color, which is a nice detail. And of course, these feature endurance. And I just caught this detail on the left shoe. On the lateral side, the cutout here has the 992 model number. When it comes to sizing with the 992, these are made in USA sneakers. So like I've said before, I typically go a half a size down from my regular size 10. These are a 9.5, and they definitely fit perfect. I've gotten some questions about how, you know, the new fit is going to fit for these, you know, recent 992s that are going to be dropping this year in 2025. And it's safe to say that these pretty much feel identical to my older 992 pairs. So my overall thoughts on this pair, like I said earlier in the video, it wasn't a sneaker that I really wanted to get, to be honest. You know, I saw it, I thought it was clean, but man, am I glad to have these in hand. And I know it's cliche, oh, it looks so much better in hand, blah, blah, blah. I get that, but it really does, man. And again, I'm not a big, you know, mostly pink sneaker type guy, but something about this shoe, and it's probably because it's a 992. Maybe if this was a different model, I would have passed. Like for example, you know, those Joe Freshgoods 9060s, they look cool, they look clean, nice colorway, cool story and everything like that. But I just, you know, I wasn't like a true fan of the 9060. I like it, but I'm like, you know what? I'm good with one pair. I could pass on that drop. But these are 992 guys. Like, come on, man. These just look so good on feet, and actually styling these look really cool as well. And now that, you know, springtime is around the corner, this colorway is just gonna fit perfectly. I'm so glad I got these. The materials, of course, are, you know, freaking great. Made in USA New Balance sneakers, so that's always expected. And the construction on these are pretty good, especially like that typical glue stain issue that I mentioned before between the upper and the midsole. You know, New Balance has definitely improved that. Still not perfect. You'll still find some glue stains, but it's not as bad as it was before. So good job there for New Balance for improving that. You know, I think the most important thing about this release is the partnership between Joe Freshgoods and New Balance. Like I said earlier, the storytelling that he provides is just one of the best out there, to be honest. And his, you know, impact that not only does he have for the sneaker community, but his own community. I think that's the most important thing. And he delivers, he provides that storytelling from his own background to his people in Chicago. I think that that is super dope. And I think that, you know, this relationship, I hope it lasts for a very long time, another 5 years, because it's just really good. And he has such a, you know, stronghold in that area that, you know, I think, you know, nobody else does that so well in other collaborators out there, because you have a lot of collaborators who'll do something with the brand, but it just doesn't feel that unique. And with Joe, man, it just feels special. Whether you like this colorway, whether you love it or not, I just think that the meaning behind it is just so spot on. And mad props to him for really doing that. And New Balance also letting him do his thing, which is also very important. And I can't wait to see what else is, you know, to come between those two partnerships. Really looking forward to that. So once again, guys, this sneaker right here, 992, a dope silhouette from New Balance, and the colorway looks really good, and, you know, great job by them. So with that being said, let me throw these on and show you guys how they look on feet. All right, guys, so that's it for me. Hopefully this video brought you a detailed look of the New Balance 992 and Joe Freshgoods age well. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this release. And like always, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to all the new subscribers. If you're stopping by, you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button, man. I'll really appreciate it. Hit that like button, comment below. Also follow me on Instagram at GuyKicks. So that's it, guys. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.